No matter your position, circumstances, and opportunities in your life, realize that you have the choice to shape your world. Brendon Burchard. If high performance is your game, Brendon is your man. He is the #1 high performance coach in the world and the New York Times bestselling author of High Performance Habits. I love the way that Brendon communicates, and he also has a great name as well, I must say. And in today's episode of MasterTalk, we're going to be covering how to speak and present like Brendon Burchard. So let's get into it. #1, be a master at self-deprecating humor. I'll be the first one to admit it. Brendon laughs at himself a bit too much. Every time he gives a keynote or presentation, especially when I saw him live at one of his conferences, he always refers to himself as the dumb kid from Montana. He says something like, "Hey guys, I'm the dumb kid from Montana." And every time he kept saying it, I kept asking myself, why? Why is the most researched high performance coach in the world, literally, calling himself dumb every 5 minutes? And that's when I realized the power of self-deprecating humor. Because for people in Brendon's audience, they look at him and say, wait a second. If he could achieve that with his high performance and still call himself dumb all the time, still make all the mistakes, still have trouble with all the girls as he jokes about in many of his presentations, people say, if he can do it, so can I. And in many ways, his self-deprecating humor is a weapon he uses to convince his audience that, wait a second, I'm just a regular human being, which means you can do it too. This is what we call an uplifter, someone who uplifts other people's spirits, other people's opportunities by simply talking about the fact that he's just a human being like you. So I'm not saying you need to use self-deprecating humor at the level he does, because a bit too much, but go back into your presentations and simply ask yourself, what are 1 or 2 things that I can do to make myself more relatable to other people around me? That's the key. #2, connect audience members with each other in a playful way. What's interesting about Brendon's keynotes, especially when he gives seminars, is every time he starts a presentation, he always says, hug the person to the left of you, hug the person to the right of you, and tell them that you're happy they're there. And what's interesting about the effect he creates with this strategy is what I call community by association. So let's say Dave and Julia are next to me at the seminar, and I hug both of them and I start becoming friends with them. When I become friends with them, I say it's because of Brendon that I got to meet these 2 people. So I like Brendon more. I want to buy Brendon's products more. I want to hear his message more. So this is a strategy that Brendon Burchard uses to build community within the attendees of the seminars that come to him. And that's the strategy, is how can you use strategies and tactics to get people to get to know each other during the seminar by having them hug each other, by having them give each other high fives, by having them ask each other questions. And by implementing just 1 or 2 of these strategies, you too can build community within your respective audiences. And finally, #3, understand the power of defining sentences and messages to your keynotes and ideas. What I love the most about Brendon Burchard's keynotes is that they're simple. He doesn't overcomplicate the studies and the research that he's done. He makes it a mission to say, how do I take the most complex information and simplify it for the people around me so that everyone can implement the ideas? Here's one of those examples for you. He always says this in his keynotes, 3 words: live, love, matter. Every time I wake up, I ask myself, did I live? Did I love? And more importantly, did I matter? So I encourage all of you to ask yourself those 3 questions too. So what Brendon just did there in that keynote is he's keeping it simple, but he's also making his teachings memorable for their audience. So every time people wake up, they ask themselves these 3 same questions. And the other piece I'll add on top of what he said is when you find your defining sentences and ideas, be assured you're emphasizing those sentences with pauses and changes in your vocal variety. This is where technique plays into role, because when you say those defining sentences, you don't just want to skip over them really, really quickly. So if I want to say something important in a video, I don't just say, okay, this is something really important, then moving on to the next thing. No. I take a moment and really make sure you understand through the way that I'm speaking that this moment that we're sharing together is important. So implement the same thing in your game. As Brendon Burchard explained so well, the biggest mistake we make as human beings is aiming too low and succeeding. And this amazing quote by Brendon is a reminder for all of us to set our standards high, to set our goals high, especially with our communication, and to dream bigger. How can we implement all of the lessons that Brendon has used to become the #1 high-performance coach in the world to our expertise, to our message, to the ideas that we want to share with the world? And I hope you took away some ideas that you too can be #1 in your industry. As always, if you enjoyed this week's episode of MasterTalk, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well to see more videos like this. And if you know one person that's a fan of Brendon Burchard's work, be sure to send them this video so that they'll be one step closer to living, loving, and more importantly, mattering. Take care.